Good morning. Hope we are all well. It's pretty cold this morning. On way to the studio this morning in Marlborough, we have Tai Chi this morning, and we have Pilates and cardio bar in Devizes this morning. All streamed online, which is cool. So you can make it as convenient or as personal as you like with us in the studio. So, just wanted to talk about a recent study that came out from Warwick University about, is it harder to lose weight as we age? And it's a really common question that I get. When people inquire, they often say, I'm not sure if it's an age thing, but I've put on a lot of weight. What I do now doesn't really allow me to lose it. And it's a good point. There's a lot of value in that. There's a lot of truth in that. Morning, Marie. And what they showed in this study is they looked at people under 60, and then they looked at people 61 and over. I think the oldest participant was 80, I think. And what they did is they put them in a calorie deficit. So they were on this weight loss plan, if you like, with given support, given all the advice they needed, all the support to keep them accountable. I've just walked into a bush. Shouldn't walk on your phone. And they actually showed that the people who were 61 and over lost more weight on average, so 7.3%, versus the younger group, which is they lost about 6.8%. So there wasn't really much difference. Now, the key thing here was that they really stuck to the diets. Now, what does this actually mean? Well, the good news is it's never too late. The great news is it's never too late to make a difference. And the researchers concluded that this needs to be assessed more, because sometimes people are just left and gone, that's the way you are. That's the way you are now. You should try and lose weight, but it's an age thing. And the great thing is people aren't accepting that anymore. People are living longer, so they're like, I'm not accepting that. And the researchers said that there's about 50 comorbidities that could be impacted by this. So from diabetes to depression to anxiety to cancer to cardiovascular disease and more, digestive issues that could come around from being on more medication and blood pressure and all sorts. And what they said is that just more emphasis needs to be on this, that it's never too late. And actually what a difference even a few weeks, months can make at any age if you start doing some exercise, losing some body fat, toning up. Now, this doesn't have to be all negative around weight loss, just toning up and doing some resistance exercise. Like my brother-in-law does research into protein and muscle, and he's done research in 70 plus, 80 plus, taken muscle biopsies and all sorts, and found that you can build muscle at that age. And what a difference that can make to someone's well-being, to someone's bone density, to someone's ability to stay independent for as long as possible. I know one of the ladies, she said to me that her main goal with her Kickstart, which she started in December, which pretty much shows that she's ready for this, her main goal was actually that to be honest, she just said, I don't want to be like my mum, who's been in a care home, like struggling with any independence, and it's kind of scared her a bit. Not that you should scare yourself into change, but it's just opened her eyes into her own habits and how important her own self-care is. Now, if we go into a bit more practical side, as we age, it does get harder, not necessarily physiologically, but definitely from a point of view of responsibility. Generally, as you age, we have more responsibility. When you're maybe, so for example, in my stage of my life, now 2 kids, I have way less time to exercise, way less time to prepare food than I did in my early 20s when I was at university. You always think you're busy and you always think you're old, but the reality is in 10 years you're busier and you're still not old. That's the way I look at things. And then you go into that next stage. So, a few of the ladies have said to me, they had a few years where they were like empty nesters, and then it just went straight into, okay, now I'm a carer again for my parents. And that's kind of the unfortunate way of life, I guess. And with that in mind, what I'm saying is the responsibility increases from when we're in our 20s, right? You just have much more responsibility, and with that, things become harder to stick to if you're too rigid, if you're being unrealistic with your expectations, if you're really pushing it to the extent where, you just can't, the expectations don't match your reality. And then we find it hard to stick to, then we beat ourselves up and we give up. And that makes it hard. That makes it a lot harder. Now, there are other things that can contribute, whether that's water retention, menstrual cycle, whether that's just adding some new exercise into your routine, which can make the scales fluctuate a lot. And that's a key reason why I always say, focus on the positive things you're doing, the number of exercise sessions you've done, the number of fruit and vegetables you've eaten today, the amount of water you've drank today, the steps you've got in today. All these positive habits will add up over time. And yes, they might not result in weight loss straight away, but over time, if you're consistent with them, they're meaningful, positive habits, you'll get results. You just might need to adapt things as you go. And you know what? The best thing about it is, as you build momentum, you have the confidence to then make small changes that 10 weeks ago maybe were big changes, because you've been consistent with that change. Now, that next change is really simple. Now, the key thing with this, again, is not to put too much emphasis on the scale change, because meaningful weight loss can be 5%. And I want to stress this, because in these studies, they've said that as we age, we can lose weight. But for some people, the amount of weight that someone lost, some people might view that as, oh, they haven't lost any weight, it's not enough. But you've got to remember, a meaningful fat loss, weight loss, can be 5%. And people, like true weight loss, not just like, fasting and not drinking water, sitting in a sauna, can actually have an impact on your cholesterol levels, your blood pressure, and what a difference that is. And it doesn't have to be this big thing. And sometimes we just think that unless we're all or nothing, there's no point. When actually there's so many more benefits to exercise than weight loss. There's so many more benefits to this whole lifestyle than just losing a few pounds. It's from, like I said at the start, that the researcher said about depression, anxiety, which all fuels your energy, which all fuels your outlook, your stress bucket, how you handle relationships, how you handle stresses, problems in life. And unless we protect that, our energy, our stress bucket, it's going to be difficult to handle these things. And the thing with stresses and problems is that you can either choose the ones that you want, or you'll get given them anyway. So at least make that decision that makes you happy. For example, a lot of the problems I have today, I would have loved to have had a year ago. And that's the truth. Whether that's regards to having studios now, and the difference that is for me, waking up in the middle of the night with the kids. Like, once upon a time, although I see that sometimes as a problem now, I'd do anything for that. So you've got to consider our perception sometimes of problems. Problems are good things. Anyway, bit of a tangent. At the studio now, so off to get started for the day. Tai Chi, Pilates, busy morning. Let's go. Speak soon and take care. Morning, Nan.